Hello and welcome to Manisha Talks, the very first episode. I'm so excited, also fearful, also nervous, and all the rest. And for this very first episode, I just wanted to go into a little bit about who I am and why I am talking about money. Like, what gives me the right to talk about money? Well, one, my name is Manisha. So, the actual meaning of the name means wisdom, intellect, and desire. And I'm not sure if you know this about how they name Indian babies, but according to the charts, they look at the stars on the exact day and time that you're born. We consult a priest, and then he gives you the first few letters that your name should begin with. So I think it's quite a nice little tradition. And the family joke was that your name is Manisha, but you never ever have any money. And I have a younger sister. Her name is Harisha. She's 5 years younger than I am. And we're very different in a lot of ways, but we're also very similar in terms of our values. And she has always been an excellent money manager. So I think having these open, honest conversations about money, and I can see how naturally she has certain tendencies, makes me really just think, what are we born with? What do we inherit? And what do we learn along the way? And can we actually change our money situation? So I think it all starts in childhood, you know. We are influenced by those around us. So our mother, father, their spending habits, whether one was a gambler. None of my parents were gamblers, but I have had people in my family, you know, with this gambling addiction. And often when couples fight, it's because of money, you know, how they want to spend their money. I actually was engaged at one stage, like I think when I was, a long time ago. But one of the main reasons I broke up with him, he was an amazing guy, we're still good friends to this day, is because I wanted to travel. And he would go out drinking every weekend and say, we don't have money for travel. So when I was engaged, like those were some of the fears that were coming up for me is, you saying that we don't have money to travel, but you're going out every single night, like Friday, Saturday. That's at least 1 to 2,000 rand that you're spending on drinks. He's a very sociable guy, amazing guy. But that money we can save up, because in a month you can save like 8 to 10,000 rand, and we can travel with that money. So, I mean, that's just one little example, but often you get one in a couple who's the more dominant one, or one is a spender, one is a saver. So I am traditionally a spender, but I've changed that. And my sister was more the saver. So again, let's go back to childhood. I can remember being about 12 years old, so my sister was only 5 years younger. My dad would give us each 20 rand. So because she was younger, no, that's actually not even a reason. She just saved. She's like, no, I don't need anything. And I would spend 1998, always to the T. So that became a habit. And as we aged, so then I was more a teenager, like 16, 17. She was about 12. Our spending habits. So I wanted the same shoe in all different colors. I still am like that. And my sister would rather buy one item that is super expensive and save up for it. And I could never have the patience. When I wanted something, I wanted it now. And I would just be living for the moment. And literally that's been me for most of my life. So I've always had these open, honest conversations with my sister, because it always intrigued me. Like, we come from the same family, we exposed to the same things, but she naturally had these tendencies, and I naturally had these other tendencies. However, up until 5 years ago, so that was a pivotal moment. I was homeschooling my kids. I was fighting from the 9 to 5. I did not want to work a 9 to 5. I did not want my kids to be put in this education system. So I was living in Kids Beach at the time, but prior to that, every 3 months I was in a different space. So amazing places like Stutterheim and Port Alfred and Cinsa. And it was kind of around like COVID times. And it wasn't because of COVID that I was traveling. I always had this plan that I was going to travel. And I loved it. And my soul was at peace. But it was also those times that were the brokest times for me. So I am an accountant. And now I love being an accountant. But I think I've fought being an accountant for about 25 years. So, and that's a whole other story which I will share with you because it all links into this whole money journey. And a lot of what I'm going to be sharing in the podcast, I'll be telling you whether it's my story, other stories, from the people around me. But stories so that you don't have to make those same mistakes. Stories to help you question and think. Because it is only when you go deeper into that can you come up with where you are at and if you want to change it, etc. So back to traveling around. I was I had this idea. I wanted to live the laptop lifestyle. I still have it. But so I was training women online in the life coaching space as well as the fitness space. And I would homeschool my kids for 2 to 3 hours. They were younger at the time. And one of my values is freedom. I absolutely love travel. And travel for me is freedom. That is also one of the reasons why I did not ever want to buy a house. I don't like things that keep me in one space. I just want to be free to be able to pack up my bags and go. Yeah, I guess I just love adventure. I love new things. I love culture. And so we were in this space, we setting up everything. And the one thing I wanted was freedom. However, traveling with the kids, although it seems very amazing as a single woman, comes with other things. So because the kids were pretty young, instead of having that freedom, they would actually cling to me more, because as a mother you become protective, especially where there's like new strangers and people all the time. So the freedom that I was seeking, they actually clung to me more. So that was one of my reasons why I came back into the working world. And also my parents were very old school, and they said, stop your nonsense now. You're in your 40s. You need to start thinking differently. And I asked myself, like, why am I actually resisting? Why am I resisting? And am I just being rebellious? Like, I've tried so many things in my life. I've had so many jobs and I've done so many things. I've been a volunteer and worked in townships. I've been in sales and marketing. I've done recruitment. I've worked in the UK. And it was one of the times where I left my dad in accounting, sold up everything, and he didn't talk to me for 3 to 4 months. And I went to the UK, and I had 5 different jobs in 1 year, and I had to make it, and I couldn't call home because I was the one that wanted this experience. So I had to make it work. And again, tough moments, selling telecommunications, walking door to door, field sales, like in the snow. But I do believe it's all these moments that make us tougher. Then I had a telesales job, and yeah, I can go on. I've got stories for days regarding that. But so having all these experiences and living in Kids Beach, it wasn't always easy. I can remember, there were so many broke moments, and this was only 5 years ago. But, when you have an okay balance and you're actually praying that there is enough in your balance to buy a loaf of bread, that is the position I was in. And when I look at my life now and everything that I have created, I have actually changed so much as a person. I don't have a massive house. I just have a 2-bedroom house with, there wasn't a pool. I put a pool. I have the car of my dreams, which is a Ford Ranger. At the time when I was traveling around, I did not have a car. And I love what I have created, and that's why I'm always very selective about who comes into my space. And yeah, let me just pause. So the journey that I've been on, I would say, is over the last 5 years, where I've really matured and started getting to know more who Manisha is at this, 40s. And when I was in Kids Beach, this was a book that I read. Let's see, Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits by James Clear. Tiny changes which bring about remarkable results. And it's a really powerful book. And we consume so much on a daily basis, whether it's listening to people, podcasts, videos, YouTube, TV, whatever influence, conferences. But always, if you can take at least one thing and just apply it to your life, obviously, if it feels good. So my dad was still alive at the time. It was just our thing where we love reading motivational books and then swap and have a little chat. But Atomic Habits is really one of the most powerful books, because it talks about small little things that you can put in place, and it's all about the habits that you create, because we don't realize the snowball effect that happens. And so as human beings, we're always looking for quick fixes, and I think everything that is a quick fix can be lost just as quickly. But if you want growth and expansion that's really going to change the magnitude of your life, then start with the little habits. I always use the health and fitness industry, and that is actually where I learned a lot of these good habits like discipline and consistency, because you can physically see it. When you show up, then the results show up. But money is the same, because money is energy. And I started doing these things called money dates, okay? And that became a habit. So what a money date is every day going into my bank accounts, being okay with what I see, and often it was negative or not. And sometimes you don't feel like going into your bank accounts when you already are thinking, okay, there's nothing really coming in. But it's being in that space and being okay with it and forcing yourself to do it even when you don't feel like it, because that is what discipline is. And it's integrity with oneself. So doing these money dates made me feel better, even though there was no really any more income coming in at the time, but it helped me make better decisions. So create the habit. And then, again, using a gym example, if someone was wanting to lose a lot of weight, if you sporadically did exercise or works out or good eating, like if you went to the gym on Friday and you had like a 3-hour session, and then you didn't have time, and then you went on Tuesday and did a quick 30 minutes, you're not going to get the results that you want. But all it takes is actually just 30 minutes a day. So again, it's a habit, and then it's creating that consistency. And our conscious minds are so clever, and it's always trying to keep us the same. Our minds are so busy, we're thinking about 100,000 thoughts in a day. And 80% of these are negative. And that's why it's so important to do the positive thinking, because already there's so many fears, anxieties, and everything going on in your mind. So you have to really try hard. And that's why the affirmations or affirmations, which are questions. Okay, so why is it so easy for me to be successful? That's just an example. So atomic habits with your money, but also with your health. And one of my main core beliefs is that your health is your wealth. So think about this. You had all the wealth in your world, but you don't have your health. How can you enjoy your wealth? So really it goes hand in hand. And, the same can be said about wisdom. Is if sometimes you have a lot of money, but if you don't have the wisdom to manage it just as quickly as it comes in, you could also lose it all. So like the jackpot owners, that winners that you see, you've heard so many of these stories, is because their vessel or their container cannot hold it. They're not used to such a high volume of money. So as easily as it has come in, it's also lost. So that's a little bit about Atomic Habits. And one of the most pivotal books that I have read, not read, more worked on. So let's see. Oh, you can't see. Okay, I'm going to have to. It's called The Map for Life. So this book is actually something that I started when I was 21. The person who has designed this book, because it's a workable book, is called Glenn McQuirk. So I work alongside with him. I'm a life coach. I'm a qualified life coach through Map for Life. And again, this was something my dad introduced me to at 20. So he loved doing his diary, planning, organizing. He was the typical accountant. And he introduced me to it because once a year, and how often do we do this? When it comes to New Year's Eve, we set all these resolutions. And then we just don't look at it throughout the year, or maybe every 6 months, every 3 months. But what this Map for Life does, it's literally drawing a map for your life. So you end up with a 10-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 2-year plan, a 1-year plan. You've got monthly goals, you've got quarterly goals, and then you break it down into daily goals, and then you break it down into the habits. So even though I was doing this from the age of 21, I was resistant to order and structure and systems. There were things in the Map for Life that I really loved, which is the vision boarding. I've always been someone who very visual. So what I love about the Map for Life is it incorporates everything. I've read tons of books, but it's the one book that has on the habit creation, on the visualization, on project planning, on wealth creation, and it actually helps to analyze all 8 areas of your life. So your career, your money, your relationships, your leisure activities, your charitable options, if you do that. What else? Your health, and then your intellectual. Yes. And so when I first did that, and you have to assess where you are, they have this wheel of life. Everything was out of sync. And it's amazing to see that over the years, how it is more balanced. And that is actually my feeling at this moment. So, yeah, everything that I've shared with you up until this point gives you a good indication of, who I am and what I am about. I'm not the traditional accountant. I'm I think my life coaching strongly comes through when I'm with someone, when I'm with my clients. But there is a deeper reason of why I am doing this podcast. It's specifically aimed at women. I'm not saying that men can't benefit too from the information, but I have always been on a journey to heal myself. And it started when I was 14, 15 years old, when I started like studying the mind and how it works. And you might think like, like, wow, 15, that I've been on this journey. And it's incorporating, a lot of reading. I am an avid reader, a lot of conferences. So all the wisdom teachings that I'm going to be sharing with you is everything I have found along the way, and I've adapted and used. So if you ask me where does it come from, like one specific book, no, it's like tons. So I will be sharing various books, and what I would like from this podcast is that you don't trust me. I mean, but go on your own journey of exploration, because I will always put a book or an exercise that asks you to question deeper so that you form your own perception, because all of this is my experience, and my experience is my perspective, and you can hear and listen to my story and it can spark certain things in you, but go on your own journey and come to your own perception. So that would be the best way. So my story actually starts from a place of tragedy. So when I was 15 years old, and most people, it's not something I freely share, but I don't mind sharing because I'm in a space where I have healed from this. I was gang raped by 3 people, and I didn't tell anyone for 13 years, so a further 13 years. So only by the time I was 28 years old did I actually properly start going for therapy. But in that space, in those 13 years, I was still determined to be successful. That is when I found the map for life. I was still reading. And I came across all these modalities because all my body, mind, soul was trying to do was guide me on how to heal. One of the most pivotal books that helped me through my journey was by Dr. John Demartini, The Breakthrough Experience, where it helped me see that, yes, although this is a tragic experience, but to collapse time and see all the good that has come from it. So this is where my mom actually thinks that I'm kind of crazy by thinking this way. But when I think back to it now, it honestly is one of the greatest gifts, because this is the reason that I am so resilient. This is the reason that I care so much about people. This is the reason that I want to see people succeed, because I was so determined to succeed. I wanted to show people and to be a beacon of light that no matter what happens to you, you can still be successful. This is also the reason that I worked in townships for 2 years. I was a volunteer coordinator for a company called Hilltop Empowerment Center. The director was Rommel. And I was blessed enough that although I was just earning a stipend of 5,000 Rand, that they paid for a trip, fully sponsored, to go to Germany to learn the German, way to help them and better prepare them to work in townships. So there are amazing opportunities along the way. But My dad probably couldn't understand it. He's like, I've paid for your education and you are earning peanuts. Like, what is wrong with you? But only we will know what is our soul calling, our soul mission in life. And it's up to us to ask the questions. The question of who am I have continuously asked myself at every single stage. This is also something that the Map for Life, it can give you all the answers because it has the questions, but it's up to you to come up with the answers. And we are not stagnant. We change. Every single moment we're changing. And we are the driver or the artist of our life. And it's really up to us to set, what our vision. And from that 15-year-old self with the trauma, that is when my global vision was born. So doing this podcast now is the start of that global vision where my voice is hopefully going to reach millions. And speaking on money, because at the end of the day, money is energy. And when you experience a tragedy like that, it affects your self-worth, your value of yourself. So I'm coming from a space where I did not think so much of myself. And that is translated in your pricing whenever you are doing something. I mean, it's also like if you see people giving massive discounts, it's because they're not valuing what they truly have to offer. So we're all on a journey, and money is energy. And to live in this world, we do need money. Being a single mom, having to raise 2 kids, there's no one to help me. I can't go to my sister and be like, hey, I need some money. So at the age of 40, I was faced with that soon my kids will need to go to university and I have to start doing the right thing and I have to be more stable. And it started with the small habits that I put in place of being more organized, of being more disciplined. I've always been a hard worker. That's something ingrained in us from my dad, because we grew up watching him work hard for his money. So that, again, that's a belief that I'm trying to change, because I don't want to work hard. Working smart is the way. So maybe you haven't experienced as hectic a tragedy, but whatever you have experienced in your life, look at the income level that you are at, and you have been given by God certain gifts and talents that you have to share with the world. And I say have to share with the world, because if you're not living a passionate, purposeful life, then you're just being selfish. And I do believe we are here on earth to not just live alone and have kids. And, I always think, what is the impact that I'm here to make? And why did this actually happen to me? And I believe it happened because all tragedy, obstacle, struggle is actually a gateway, like, for success. But that's because of how I have programmed my mind. And the greater you and these things were insights that were given to me at 15 years old. So it was just messages when I was trying to process what was going on, because as much as you can not speak about it and not tell anyone, although I was raped once, in your mind, you replay it, and I was probably raped like 1,000,000 times. because a good day would be okay and a bad day would be like really bad. And for a long time, I would say in my 20s, I probably drank a lot more than I should, but it was trying to numb the pain, and at that point still keeping the secret to myself. And I knew that at one day I would have to deal with it head on. And the strange thing is, when I was 28 years old, I was actually doing a creative consciousness to become a life coach. And we had to do this one exercise where we had to scream at the top of our lungs. And then people were in a circle, a safe space, and then they rate you. So you start at like 1, and then you go more, and you're supposed to go to 10. And I actually could only get to 4, 5, because at that moment I realized that I just suppressed so much. And then that was the beginning of, telling my parents for the first time, and telling the world for the first time. And it's actually because of my personal powerful story of always wanting to thrive no matter what comes my way. That's the reason I was chosen for season 1 of Thrivers. So Thrivers was something that we shot in Swellendam. It's still going to be released in the world. I work closely, and I am the accountant with Nicola Jackman. And yeah, we still, editing takes a long time. Editing also requires money. So yeah, I have watched about 8 episodes, and it's so exciting when it finally goes out in the world. But yes, so my main reason for doing this podcast is I'm not selling anything. I can point you in the right direction. Currently, I don't have space to be coaching people because accounting is my main thing. And I don't mind if you reach out to me, and I will point you, to where you need to go. Maybe in future I will have capacity to coach. But right now, being an accountant, which is my day job, I study bank statements. I deal with lots of confidential information. And it interests me that some people have always 800,000 in their account, just example, or 1 million. And other people, if you're in overdraft, they stay maxed out at the overdraft. And when you're in a hole, it's very difficult to come out of that hole. But what interests me is to look at their habits. And also, just by looking at the information, and I haven't even met someone, I can form a perception. And then this is where the people aspect comes in, where I actually just have a conversation and I ask loads of questions. And then I put the two together. And I always tell my staff that it's not just about the facts and figures. The facts and figures are important, but it's the story that really matters. And so I was really inspired when I looked at one of my clients. She's an Ethiopian lady, and she was the one who actually inspired me to buy a house, because she was buying her 4th house, over the years. She's been our client for a long time. And I was like, wow, this is a foreigner. It's difficult for foreigners. And she's buying her 4th house, and she pays it up. And then she buys another one, and then she pays it up. And I was like, wow, I'm going to be 40. I don't even have this. And that's the one thing that my kids really wanted. So I do believe God doesn't give us what we want. He gives us what we need. And he gave me my kids. They are 8 and 13, Vishay and Ty. And they are the ones who have helped me in this journey of stability, and also to value money, because you need to clothe them and nourish them and provide shelter. And when I was traveling around 5 years ago, I was happy to just, my rent was 5,000 Rand. I cancelled my medical aid, I cancelled insurance. I'm like, I don't need any of these things. And I was happy and I was free. But I'm so much happier now having all of these things in place. The retirement annuity, which, there's tax deductions, etc. And yeah, I'm busy opening up a trust now, because now I'm not just thinking about this lifetime, but I'm thinking about, what about, the world that my kids are going to be in, and to set them up with tax-free savings accounts. And I'm so much happier. And the one goal that I have for myself this year is, I actually just want money to be in my bank account and it not have to go anywhere. And so that's what I have been practicing. At the beginning, or at the end of last year, I think I had like 5 credit cards and they were all maxed out. And that was permanently me for most of my life. And I am happy to say that at least 3 are paid, and I've cut them up so I can't even use them. And I am on this journey. So yes, do I have millions? No. But I am coming from a space of having absolute nothing to putting and changing certain habits. And I can see that in the last 6 months, if you just put in the habits and do the time, your whole money situation will change. So I hope you get value from the podcast. I'm super excited. I will be not so much story for the next one. This was just on me, and my life doesn't need a script. I just wanted to freely give you the chance to know who the real Manisha is. And you're welcome to Google me. You're welcome to add me on Facebook, on TikTok. I don't ever delete anything. You'll see my fitness journeys, my transformations, even ex-boyfriends, they're all there. But yeah, I think you'll get a good feel of who I am by what I share. And being authentic is important to me, because for a long time I kept the secret of my tragedy where I didn't share. And the moment I came clean on it was the moment I decided that it's important to be authentic, and the person that I am, just to have one face for everyone. And I can sleep better at night. So yes, so there'll be a bit more structure, and I'll always leave you with a to-do or a little exercise. Whether you actually do it will be up to you, but I know that if you do it, all of the things will come together and your life will dramatically change. So this is Manisha from Manisha Talks, signing off until we meet again.